I just don't know how this team can be good enough defensively. We saw what happened last year, that they can accomplish what they want to. And as we talked about, they've wasted some good years with Joe Burrow, especially last year when he played in an MVP-type season.
Okay, so after missing the postseason in back-to-back seasons, Troy Aikman is clearly doubtful the Bengals can turn it around this year. So let's take a deep dive into their schedule. And Canty, that's where I need you. Where are the Bengals' wins and losses coming from this season?
All right, I got you covered, Molly. So the Bengals' strength of schedule, 14th in the NFL. They've been playing Joe Burrow and the starters throughout the preseason. The departure from how Zach Taylor has handled things. There's no way you can do that and not expect to get a win week one on the road against a division opponent in the Cleveland Browns, especially with the Browns starting 40-year-old quarterback Joe Flacco. So we're going to rack that one up in the W column. Next on deck, week two, Jacksonville Jaguars. Even though they added Travis Hunter and Jordan Lewis to that secondary, it was dead last year in terms of pass defense. So bad week to have a bad pass defense against the Bengals. We're going to go ahead and give Cincy that dub as well. Next on deck, third week, Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings have two international games right after this one. They're starting a first-year quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, first-year starter. So I'm going to go ahead and give Joe Burrow the edge there. The Denver Broncos, here's where the schedule catches up to them. At Mile High, one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL. Uniquely equipped to deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. Remember, they signed Talanoa Hufanga on defense. They've got the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in Patrick Surtain, and they drafted Jada Barron in that secondary. So that's an L for the Bengals. The Detroit Lions, you know that's an L. They can match wits with them on the offensive side of the ball, and their defense is better than Cincy's. Green Bay Packers coming off of the bye week. For the Packers, that's an L for the Cincinnati Bengals. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is tricky. I'm going to go ahead and give the win to Cincy in this spot, even though those two teams typically split. I'm going to give Cincy the win against the New York Jets, the win against the Chicago Bears. Now, getting past their bye week, coming off of a bye week at Pittsburgh, going to be tough, but I'm going to give Cincy the win there as well. Then we've got the New England Patriots. Tougher than expected game that you're going to get from the New England Patriots this year for the Bengals. I'm going to give them the dub, though. Then the Killer Bees, you got a stretch of games. The Baltimore Ravens twice and the Buffalo Bills. Joe Burrow 1-6 against Lamar Jackson, so that's a loss for Cincy. I'm going to give them a loss on the road against Buffalo and another loss at M&T Bank Stadium in a primetime game. So now here's the stretch where we're trying to figure out exactly where they're going to fall. I've got them winning on the road down in Miami. I've got them winning against the Arizona Cardinals, and I've got them closing out the season with a win. So for all the people saying that I ain't got love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, a.k.a. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, I actually do. The Cincinnati Bengals, 11-6 record. They punched their ticket to the playoffs.
Well, here's where I feel you need to be drug tested. There is no way that Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase are going to have 2 3-game losing streaks in the season. That's my issue. I don't even have an issue with the record overall. I just can't see 2 3-game losing streaks in a season, particularly that late in the season, because as the season progresses, Cincinnati does look better and more fluid. So I don't see them losing to the Ravens twice in 3 weeks. I don't see that happening. And I don't see them losing back to Denver, Detroit, and Green Bay. They'll win one of those games.
Yeah, listen, for me, I don't see them sweeping the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like a Mike Tomlin coach team, I don't see that happening. I think at most they'll split that. They always play the Ravens tough. I don't think they'll get swept by the Ravens. I think they'll split that. That Minnesota Vikings game at Minnesota, listen, Minnesota's a tough place to play. I know J.J. McCarthy is in his first year starting, but I think that's going to be a loss. But I don't think you're bad as far as a win-loss record. I just don't think that it's going to go in the order that you have right there.
Okay, so you think
same thing I said.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Those 3-game losing streaks, not ideal, but the Baltimore bit, they don't beat the Baltimore Ravens. That's just the reality of the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't. So I got them chalking that up. And then, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think they'll be as good as advertised with everybody having high expectations now that Aaron Rodgers is in town.
Molly?
Yes, sir.
And advice to the producers and the directors for the show, because we have some of the best in the business.
You want me to be like this? Is that your
they're having no, not that. They're having a rough day. They're having a rough day. Here's why.
Okay.
You got Canty in front of the screen. Canty's taller than the damn screen, for crying out loud. And Lord help him if he gets in front of one of us, me or Woody, you can't even see us. You see what I'm saying? The other wall would have been better. Other than that, I'm good.
Now it's better. Now it's better. Now it's better.
See?
It's more of
See?
me,
See what I'm saying?
less of Stephen A.
See what I'm
Smith.
saying?
Now it's better. Let's go ahead. Matter of fact, I actually like the wood. So let's just block out Stephen. Now the show is better. Now we got a better show. Here we go.
He's smiling. He's cheesing. You can't help it.
Absolutely could have been the MVP of the league last year based on how bad his defense was and the fact that he still had them alive for playoff contention on the final Sunday of the season. Of course, they would not wind up making it. You put together a tape on just what we're seeing from this defense.
Bad angles, bad gap integrity, slow on defense. This is the defense last year just could not find a way to fundamentally be sound. Fired defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Al Golden comes in, who's an incredibly well-respected defensive mind. And the concern is it looks worse. I mean, this is a jet sweep. I'm not saying this is an easy play to stop, but guys are taking bad angles. They're going underneath blocks. They're not squeezing when it comes to us as offensive guys trying to block them inside out. And Deebo Samuel, who you would imagine everybody's antennas would be up on when he's on the field, goes for 20. And then Jaden Daniels' run that he scores on, the thing that I see is like, oh my gosh, he looks so much faster than everybody on the defense. There's 4, 5, 6 guys on Cincinnati's defense that really have some form of vision on them, and they're not even close to touching him until he kind of runs to them 2 or 3 yards from the end zone. So, man, I know Jaden and Joe, I was just watching that game going, oh my, I sent notes to capital letters. This defense is terrible right now.
And it's playing without Trey Hendrickson, which is its best player by far, and may have to continue doing that. Is there any update on his contractual situation?
No movement on that. Well, I think as we get closer to the start of the season, you'll probably see some rekindling of talks. And I think, you know, both sides want this to end a certain way, which is with him on the team. So it's just a matter of finding that resolution. I don't believe that they're really going to trade him. I think it's a matter of when can they get this done and when can they get him on the field.
Yeah, I think, though, when you look at this defense, as good as Trey Hendrickson was last year, they stunk. And now you look at last night's game, and it's like porta potty at the end of a Mardi Gras Day parade on Bourbon Street, kind of funky, right? And so when you think about Al Golden coming over, Al Golden coming over from Notre Dame Fighting Irish, he was a part of this defensive staff when they went to the Super Bowl. So they're trying to rekindle some of that. But what they missed, and Marcus talked about this a little bit earlier, is some of the players they had on that team. Dan mentioned not having speed to the football. Well, you have to have players who not only are fast, but players who want to get to the football, players who show that level of effort. And all of that was blamed on Lou Anarumo last year. Maybe they just don't have the guys, but this is what I know. When you're a defensive player and you look at Joe Burrow, you look at Jamar Chase, and you look at T. Higgins, you should want to get stops. You should understand that if I get a stop, if I get a turnover, if we get an extra possession, we're probably going to win a ton of football games. And so somebody has to step up in this defensive room. I don't know if it's Logan Wilson. I don't know if it could be Trey Hendrickson. I don't know if it could be John Battle and say, hey, look, we need to be better, and if we're better, we have an opportunity to not only be a playoff contender, but a Super Bowl contender.
I went back and found the number. We were talking about it last year. Last season, teams that, when their team scored 33 or more points, teams in the NFL,